Coming up ahead in this episode of Xtalks Spotlight.
So for example, we've been working on a number of projects, patient payments, patient data return, patient registries. And we've had the opportunity to really work with our Patient Insights Board to understand how all of these components fits into their clinical trial journey.
We could really hear firsthand from the patients what their challenges were, what their experiences were, and what was a top priority for them.
Hello and welcome to Xtalks Spotlight, illuminating insights from subject matter experts and industry thought leaders. I'm Sonia Hunt. In this episode, we're asking the question, what do patients really think about how they are being paid during a clinical trial?
There are many factors that encompass providing a great patient experience during a clinical trial. Paying the patient is at the very top of the list. Medidata conducted research with patients to collect data around real-world challenges with patient payments to see how it affects the patient experience and solutions that can be implemented through technology. In this Xtalks Spotlight edition, I sat down with two experts from Medidata, Meghan Harrington, Vice President of Clinical Trial Financial Management, and Alicia Staley, Vice President of Patient Engagement, to discuss how not every size fits all when it comes to financial management for patients. Through research and data, Meghan and Alicia discussed how to meet patients where they are and provide the experience they deserve. Thank you for taking the time in this Spotlight interview, Meghan and Alicia.
Thanks. I really appreciate the time to talk about something that has been a true passion project for us here.
Thanks so much for having us. Really excited to share what we've been doing around patient payments and just the concept of patient centricity and how we're embracing it at Medidata. Very exciting times.
So to start us off, what does Medidata do to lead efforts as a technology provider to infuse patient centricity into the clinical trial process?
That's a great question. At Metadata, we've been working with the idea of bringing the patient voice into our software development lifecycle in new and novel ways. And in 2019, we started with a methodology called patient centricity by design that really makes us take touch points throughout the entire software development lifecycle and ensure that the patient voice is actually making its way into the work that we're doing. So to support that, we've spun up what we call our Patient Insights Board, which is a board of patient advocates that work together with us and our engineers and product managers to essentially make sure that their understanding of how the technical solution is being used is actually representative of the way that we're designing the product.
Now, could you tell us more about how Medidata approaches patient-centric research?
Medidata approaches our patient-centric research ideals by working very closely with our Patient Insights Board. We've come up with a concept called Patient Design Studios, where we meet with our product managers and our engineers twice a month. So we're really aggressive about making sure that the patient perspective through the Patient Insights Board is represented in our roadmaps and the work that we're doing. So for example, we've been working on a number of projects, patient payments, patient data return, patient registries. And we've had the opportunity to really work with our Patient Insights Board to understand how all of these components fits into their clinical trial journey. Where are the points of burden? Where are the opportunities for us to enhance the experience? And it really helps us work with our engineers and product managers to see solutions in a much more empathetic way. So they understand the concept of efficiency and empathy from the patient perspective and allows them to really develop solutions that enhance the experience, that allows the patient to feel like Medidata is stepping in with a solution that's very supportive in their clinical trial journey.
And what specific research is conducted in gathering requirements for patient payments?
We really took a thoughtful approach to how we wanted to come into the market with patient payments. And we started with the design studio. I think I made a call to Alicia, letting her know we were about to embark on this effort. And she was generous with her time and collaboration in bringing us into that design studio schedule so that we could really hear firsthand from the patients what their challenges were, what their experiences were, and what was a top priority for them. So Design Studio was, our first stop in this discovery session and effort that we took with patient payments. We also took advantage of another incredible resource within Medidata in talking to our site tech board as well to understand the site experience within patient payments. And in that particular engagement, we were on site with members of the site tech board to do a prioritization effort of what's going to add the most value for the sites who are really at the front lines of facilitating and managing that patient experience. Third, we conducted an external survey with a partner to understand what the sponsors' needs were in regards to patient payments. Where were their pain points in collecting data? What types of things were they needing in terms of reporting in the broader context of the financial management of that particular study? And that quantitative survey, we surveyed, I believe, about 101 sponsors, really helped to inform how patient payments fit within the broader landscape of a total financial management experience. And then lastly, we worked with Medidata strategy and transformation teams who were partnered with a client who was undergoing a transformation project from adopting a new way to do a number of different things, one of which was patient payments. And so with that team's support, a gap analysis was conducted. We were able to map out the kind of user journey and identify again, what are the priorities in terms of all of the stakeholders involved in patient payments? And that really helped to inform our roadmap, where we were assigning the greatest kind of value in what we were tackling first.
So following up on that, how did Medidata use that data when developing the new patient payment solution?
It's a really exciting time earlier this year in February. We brought members of the Patient Advisory Board and the Site Tech Board to a summit in New York to vet out and validate the workflows, the design, and the way in which we've been developing patient payments based on those earlier discovery sessions that we had with them the year prior. And that was a great opportunity to really share with the patients and the sites that we value their investment in time, that we're taking their feedback, taking it seriously, and that they're part of the process of creating this new experience, this new way to support patients in, their participation in clinical trials. A few things bubbled up for both stakeholders, and we were able to demonstrate exactly how we took that information and translated it into a solution experience. So as an example, patients, the top three things that bubbled up for them were patient choice, transparency, and experience. In terms of patient choice, what we heard loud and clear is that patients want options in terms of how they're going to get paid for their participation. So funding flexibility and kind of diversification across disbursement choices was very important to us and something that's key to our product. Transparency, not only is it important to patients, it's important to sites, but we really ensured that the transparency for the patients was, at all points throughout that process. So patients are able to see the status of the payment from, submission all the way through to when they receive those funds. And then lastly, the experience. That's really where our design team comes in to ensure that those workflows make sense within the context of how the patient would go about their typical workflow. But experience goes beyond that design and it also includes help desk. That was another key piece of feedback that we heard from the patients. And so we brought in our Patient Cloud help desk team to really help ensure that we are supporting our patients throughout the entire experience. For our sites, of course, transparency bubbled up for them as well. And so we really ensured that we were also giving them a view into the status along the entire journey of making that payment. It was a really satisfying moment in time to come back to that site tech board to say, those 14 feature sets that you prioritized, several months ago in our in-person session, we've been able to include 85% of those must-haves in our application. And here are our plans for going for that last 15%. So again, really respecting the investment of time that our patients and sites and the feedback they're giving by delivering them a product, delivering them a solution that really speaks to and addresses their needs.
And from both of your perspectives, why does Medidata think now is the right time to launch this new patient-focused solution?
Well, we've been listening to our patient communities and our site communities for some time, and this has really been a source of frustration for both stakeholders. From my perspective, from the patient point of view, the fact that some clinical trials offer stipends and reimbursements, I think is huge. It really helps a patient make a commitment to a trial and stay engaged in a trial. And what we're hearing is it's wonderful to be able to offer stipends and reimbursements, but when there's a significant delay in making sure those payments are making their way to the patient, it can really impact whether or not a patient stays in a trial. And we're not looking at patient payments as some sort of incentive or enticement for the patient to be in the trial. These are payments and reimbursements that are actually helping that patient just live their life and go about what they need to do in order to participate in the trial. And I think people sort of get confused with that concept, that they think, oh, we're paying people to participate in trials. And we're really not. We're paying them for the inconvenience that they're taking on to participate in the trial. If you live in a major metropolitan area and you're going into a site that's in a downtown city like Boston or New York City, and you've got to park your car for the time that you're in a trial, that could be anywhere from $45 to $50. That might not be in somebody's budget to be able to do this. And we have to be mindful about these hidden costs of participation that are really starting to add up for some of these patients that are in these very, long-term early phase trials as well. And, I think what the industry has really done is stepped up and said, all right, we've got to make sure that we're allowing for at least some sense of stability for people that are participating in this work. And, we talk a lot about the concept of diversity in clinical research and why that's so important. And, this really addresses a number of multifactorial points that can impact a person's engagement in a trial. And for us, Medidata is stepping in and saying, look, we're going to offer a solution that makes sense for the patient and makes sense for the site and allows for efficiency to be, imputed into this journey, if you will. And it really allows for us to look at this in a much more empathetic way. If we're helping a patient stay engaged in a trial, it's a win for everybody. And I think I'm very happy to see Medidata taking this forward step, really getting in and allowing for this seamless platform that patients and sites and sponsors can all work together to make sure that this critical component makes its way to patients as the ultimate consumer of a clinical trial journey, if you will.
That's right, Alicia. I think you said it beautifully. It's really focused on the patient experience, the participation and the retention of that patient, and ensuring that all barriers are removed so that they can participate in that particular study. To add to it, I would say that why Medidata and why now is really patient payments is a natural extension of our My Medidata platform as well as our payments platform. So we can build on the strengths that we have within My Medidata, specifically with the tie-in to eCOA to alleviate some of that site burden in manually tracking what should be paid. There is that natural integration across our data experience so that these payments can be triggered directly off of data that patients are already entering or that sites are already entering. I think, the second piece of that data integration is then the power and the potential of that data and what we can do to bring insights to the end users, to the sponsors about their patient payment strategy. So I think it's a natural place for Medidata to really come into the market and provide something different in terms of the experience, as well as that data connectivity.
And to wrap up, what's next for Medidata and patient centricity?
Next up for patient centricity, we're going to continue to look for ways to improve the patient experience from every single angle that we can. For us, we're really excited about the concept of patient data return. We're looking at that as another offering that really has to be in the mix for patients, making sure that when a patient is done with the clinical trial, they've got the opportunity to look, basically to keep a copy, if you will, of the data that they generated as part of their trial experience. That's critical for being able to take that information back to their primary care physician or other members of the healthcare team to continue to sort of track their progress and how they're doing. And for patients that are in early phase trials that might be going from one to another as part of their regular course of treatment, this is critical, to be able to know how many scans a patient has had or what the numbers were in previous scans, labs, imaging, to be able to see that time over time and not keep this critical information like locked away from the patient. To me, this is a huge hole in the industry that really has to be addressed. And in Medidata, we're really focusing on that. We're really going to continue to push to have this end-to-end patient experience, before, during, and after a clinical trial. I think for too long, the industry has really treated a patient's interaction in a trial as very transactional. And there is no stop and start for that patient's life when it comes to the context of their experience outside of the clinical trial. And we really have to start understanding what motivates a patient to participate in research before a trial is even presented to them. Can we do better at making sure that patients that are coming to trials that we support are ready to go? Are we giving them the right resources? Are we providing enough information and education, in concert with the sponsor and the sites to make sure that these patients are supported in a way that makes sense for them? And I think what we're trying to do is help the industry see. For too long, we've operated as clinical research and healthcare, and patients have never seen that as anything other than the same bucket. If I as a 3-time cancer survivor look at my opportunity to engage with a clinical trial, I don't see that as a singular event. I see it as a part of my continuum of care. And that's really the push that we've got to make as Medidata continues to grow. Look at this as a continuum of care and all of the ways that we can support the patient, and do it in the best way that provides patients with a trusted, secured touch point in their journey. And we've really got the opportunity to do this and do it in a big way. And I am beyond excited for what's coming next. So stay tuned.
Well, thank you very much, Meghan and Alicia, for speaking with us today. We really appreciate your time and insights.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We look forward to learning more about Medidata's approach to patient-centric research. Thank you all for joining us for this Xtalks Spotlight feature. We hope you enjoyed the discussion.